Welcome back to Yoga Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Waycott. This week on the podcast, we are having an honest conversation about something that I feel super passionate about. And if you've been listening to the podcast, up until this point, you probably already know this about me, but I am really passionate about continuing education for yoga teachers. I actually believe that pursuing continuing education is part of our professional responsibility as yoga teachers. And I think that it is a defining feature of the teachers who stand the test of time and who are able to develop a sustainable career in this industry. Now, in 2026, your depth and your knowledge as a yoga teacher are some of the things that can help differentiate you and make you stand out in an industry that is actually really oversaturated with trends and with novelty. So when you commit to your continuing education and you choose to keep learning year after year, your teaching becomes more skillful and far more impactful for your students. On today's episode, we are going to explore why depth is a really great differentiator for you as a yoga teacher, what to actually look for when you're thinking about taking a continuing education training, because not all trainings are created equal. And we're going to talk about why it is your professional responsibility to keep learning if you want a sustainable and long-term career in the yoga industry. Also, if you are a yoga teacher in the Vancouver area, I have something really special coming up this January 2026. So please stay with me until the end so that I can tell you all about it. Let's dive into today's episode. So something that I'm realizing more than ever these days is that there's a pretty significant difference between a teacher who is chasing trends all the time and a teacher who is working on becoming a master of their craft and who's really spending time refining their skills. And it's interesting to think about it because trendy classes can be a really fun and low barrier entry point for students. And I've talked about this before on other episodes, but it seems to me that the teachers who are building real longevity and real trust are not the teachers who are trying to be interesting and who are always trying to come up with something new and entertaining for people. It's actually the teachers who are doing that kind of long and not so glamorous work of trying to become more skillful. So when you're thinking about what kind of training to take next, instead of asking yourself, what's the hottest new thing? What's the newest trend that I need to add to my toolkit so that I can keep up with everybody else and do the same thing that everybody else is doing? I would ask yourself, how can I build on or deepen the foundation of what I already do? And when you choose to invest in deeper study and you choose to pursue further training, even if it's a one-day workshop or a one-weekend training, it doesn't have to be anything really big, your teaching over time becomes more intentional and you reconnect to the why behind your teaching. Your classes have purpose and your students are going to learn and they're going to develop skills that will allow them to go deeper and progress with yoga. And when I talk about progression, I'm not just talking about progression in the asanas, I'm talking about progression in all aspects of the practice. You are creating more depth for your students by increasing your knowledge and working on your skills. And it kind of moves you beyond just facilitating experiences that, make people feel good. It moves you beyond simply taking people through the motions. So rather than trying to be flashy this year or falling into that loop of like just chasing trends, which really isn't sustainable, in 2026, I want to encourage you to let depth be what makes you stand out. And it is the quality of your work that is going to make you stand out in the long run. Okay? So you know that depth matters. You know that knowledge matters. And it's that kind of like depth that you create where it's naturally going to lead you towards a more grounded authority as a yoga teacher. Like, we know that that's important, but how do you actually get there? How do you make sure that the trainings that you decide to take are going to help you grow and that you're not just adding like a certificate to your piles of certificates that you don't actually need? So what I want to do is move into what to look for in a continuing education training so that your investment is going to support you more fully in the long term. Now, we know that not all continuing ed is created equal, and not everything that you potentially sign up for is going to be meaningful. Not everything is going to be impactful. And if you're going to invest your time and your money and your energy into something like this, there are a few things that I think you should be really discerning about and that you should pay attention to before you commit to a training. So what's so funny is that a lot of people that I know have taken online trainings, myself included. I've attended lots of different online trainings and workshops. But something that I'm noticing these days is like, I'll meet people who've taken an online training and they don't know who the teacher was of the online training that they took. Like, there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect sometimes. And so the first thing that I would encourage you to look into when you're looking at CE programs is, who's the teacher? Who's running this training? And I think that it's really important that you try to get yourself into rooms with competent yoga teachers who have really lived their work, teachers who have lived experience. And ideally, you're seeking out teachers who have experience and relevant insight on the topic that they're teaching on. So when I'm looking into a training, I'm always interested to know how long people have actually been teaching. And of course, like, it's not like I need someone to have like a specific number of years of teaching yoga behind them, but it's like, it's one piece of the puzzle, right? So how long has this person been doing this work? And are they being transparent about how long they've been doing it? Sometimes people like to mark their experience as like coming from when they took their first yoga class. Whereas like, if I ever did that, like, I took my first yoga class when I was 5 years old, like, that doesn't count as my experience. So like, how long have they actually been teaching is something that I am interested to know. And hopefully there's also, like, some transparency about their teaching experience, what kind of teaching they've done, what kind of studies have they engaged in, what type of philosophy informs their work. Like, I would be asking questions about all these types of things, and hopefully that information is readily available. I also want to know who taught this teacher. Like, who have they been learning from? What lineages or educational influences have shaped them? And do they demonstrate nuance and ongoing learning themselves? So are they also out there pursuing education for themselves? Are they committed to their own growth and their own learning? And is their approach to teaching nuanced? Is it holistic? Or is it dogmatic? Is it like it's my way or the highway and there's no other way to do this, right? Like that's something that I would be interested in knowing before I commit to a training with someone. And if you have been teaching for a while, if you're a longtime yoga teacher and you are listening to this podcast, you might find that at some point in your teaching career, you may have to travel or even more intentionally seek out teachers who are truly ahead of you or who are truly offering something that like fills some sort of gap for you. And I just want to say that that's definitely been true for me over the past few years, and specifically this year. Like, first of all, I teach yoga trainings, but I also take yoga trainings every single year. Like, I practice what I preach. That's so important to me, that I'm staying inspired and that I am keeping up and maintaining that momentum of learning and bringing in new perspectives and new ideas so that I'm not teaching in a vacuum and so that I'm not, becoming stagnant in my teaching either. So yeah, I have definitely been traveling to attend more trainings this year. I traveled to the UK for a training earlier in 2025, and I've also traveled to the US for training this year. And it's definitely an investment, and it's an investment that I might not have been able to make when I was a younger yoga teacher, when I was a newer yoga teacher, when I wasn't being paid what I'm being paid now to teach yoga, just to be quite real with you. And yeah, like it's an investment to make that happen. And it requires a lot of planning ahead, like paying for the training, paying for travel, planning for travel, making sure that everything is in place in my own business to keep it running while I'm away. So that means like securing substitute teachers, making sure that I've paid my substitute teachers, making sure that I've paid the rent for my studio space so that everything can like move seamlessly while I'm away. So yeah, just kind of considering like, are there people in your own community that you're able to study with? Because if there are, definitely take advantage of that. Like having people close by that you can learn from, where you don't have to get on an airplane to take a training, is so incredible. But if you're at the point where like there's something you want to learn and nobody nearby teaches it, then maybe it requires a little bit more planning ahead to kind of get there. But number one thing that I'm interested in when I am pursuing continuing education is like, who is this teacher who's running this? What are their qualifications? And can I find like readily available information about them? Can I Google their name and find out what they've been up to and what they do? Because if I'm not able to find that information like easily, then I might not be interested in the training. And then the next thing that you should really look for in terms of the training itself is clarity. So you want to have a really good sense of what you might be walking away with when the training is finished. And I think that good continuing education is never vague. It's always going to be clear. And there should ideally be some sort of a clear outcome or like learning goal, learning outcome, like available for you in the description or the outline of the training. I think that there should be some sort of a curriculum or, again, a clear outline of like what you're going to learn. And ideally, you're not just going off of vibes. It's so funny because sometimes I'll see things advertised. I think I've said this before, but just as like philosophy talk, like in quotations. And I'm like, what? Like, what kind of philosophy? Like, this is so vague. And also, who is signing up for this? Because like, if I'm signing up for something, I want to know who's teaching it and I want to know what I'm going to learn. But maybe that's just me. I think that there should also be, like, in terms of getting clarity on the training, there should be a sense of what skills you'll gain, what kind of understanding you'll develop. Are there any particular frameworks or techniques or practices that you're going to learn? Again, I see a lot of marketing out there that's just super vague, and it'll just be like, breath work training, learn breath work, learn to regulate your nervous system with somatic practices. It's like, stop using all these buzzwords. Tell me what you are going to teach. What is the philosophy that informs your teaching? And like, what are people going to walk away with? Like, make it tangible. Um, Anyways, that's just my little rant. But like, look for clarity, okay? And then I would also really look into whether or not there's an experiential component to the training. So last night I was teaching some of my yoga classes, and one of the classes that I was teaching, we were working with the kosha system, and this was a group of really experienced yoga students. A lot of people in the room were yoga teachers as well, so it was totally like an appropriate class to offer them. But what I was saying to them was that there are certain concepts in yoga, especially as we get more kind of subtle and introspective and esoteric, that are difficult to conceptualize, and they often have to be experienced to be understood. So depending on the type of training that you're taking, is there opportunity to experience or embody the subject? Like, are you going to be moving through a practice so that you can work with a specific technique? Is there going to be an opportunity for you to practice teaching something? So if that's appropriate, depending on the content, like, is there an experiential component? But you definitely want to look for trainings where the teacher has effectively communicated what to expect, what's going to happen in the training before you sign up for it. And I would ask yourself, if I take this training, what will I be able to do better, like at the end of it? Or what will I walk away with deeper knowledge of? What new perspective might I gain? So if you can't answer one of those questions, then it might not be the right training. And once you are sure that the training is intentional and it seems like it's clearly designed, it's not just based off of vibes or whatever the teacher is feeling that day when they walk in the room, then the next step is going to be to zoom out a little bit and look at the bigger picture and consider, will this education help you grow, not just in the moment, but in the long term, like over the arc of your teaching career? So the last thing that I'm interested in is the longevity of the content in the training. So is it still going to matter 5 years from now? And this one is really big because there is definitely a difference between trainings that are going to give you sustainable frameworks, like tested frameworks that people know are effective, trainings that give you knowledge, trainings that give you specific skills, versus trainings that are more driven by trends. And obviously, like, the longer you've been teaching, the longer you've been in the yoga industry, the easier it is to discern like what's a trend and what isn't. So if you're not sure, ask another yoga teacher. Be like, hey, is this just a trend, or is this something that's actually going to be like really helpful for me in my career? So before you decide to enroll in a training, I would ask yourself, is this something that is going to expand my thinking as a yoga teacher? Does it support me in teaching more intelligently, or does it bring like deeper meaning or more richness to my teaching? Does it contribute to a deeper understanding of something specific, a deeper understanding of the body, the mind, a certain aspect of philosophy, a certain technique? Like, what is it going to help me understand more deeply? And then finally, is this something that I'm actually going to be able to use and implement long term? And I would be cautious, and it doesn't mean like you can't take them, but I would be cautious of trainings that are saying like, come to a training for 2 days and in a weekend you're going to become a breathwork practitioner, or you're going to become a sound healing practitioner, you're going to become a trauma-informed yoga teacher in like 2 days. And again, like, it doesn't mean don't take those trainings. Like, if they're really interesting to you, by all means take them. But if, for example, you have a limited budget to allocate towards training every year, and you're like, this is what I can afford based on the income that I bring in as a yoga teacher, this is how much money I have to spend, like, I would personally invest that money in something that's going to continue to pay off, like, in the long run, and that you're going to continue to be able to implement. So think more like timeless wisdom, timeless knowledge, rather than stuff that might just be a trend and is maybe relevant right now because people are implementing things into events or whatever, but like maybe it's not going to be relevant 5 years down the road. So a good continuing education program should like grow your capacity. It should contribute to like the body of knowledge that you have as a yoga teacher. And I do truly believe that it is your professional responsibility to keep learning. So continuing education is going to strengthen your credibility as a yoga teacher in a really, really tangible way. When you're committed to continuing education, you're not relying on things like your personality. Not that your personality isn't important, but you're not fully relying on like having a certain personality or kind of persona or, charisma that you bring with you. You're not going to be exhausting yourself trying to come up with the latest, trendiest event. Like, your teaching is going to be grounded in an embodied understanding, and it's going to be grounded in this ongoing refinement of your craft. And I really think that that can make you stand out. And your students as well are going to feel the difference. And this is something that I can really speak on from personal experience. When you commit to your education, you commit to your growth, you will begin to attract students who want to practice with you and want to learn from you for a long time. So it's not going to be so much the people who just kind of dabble in yoga and they just go to something because, again, like, it looks fun or they want to get a cool picture for their Instagram. Like, if you're teaching from like a grounded and embodied place, a place where knowledge and education comes first, you are naturally going to begin to attract students who are also hungry for knowledge and who want to learn and who want to develop skills. And I think that that's the kind of like community that is going to have longevity. Like, those are the students who are going to want to practice with you for ages. So your students can really sense when you are an informed teacher. They can sense when your cues come from a place of understanding. And at the end of the day, like, your commitment to ongoing study is also going to help protect your students. You're going to be better equipped to, navigate different situations, to navigate different abilities, different lived experiences, because your education, because you're always pursuing knowledge, is going to evolve as the industry evolves, and it's going to evolve as research evolves as well, which is really, really cool. So the teachers who last in the yoga industry, the teachers who have longevity in the industry, are the teachers who continue to evolve. So if you want to have a stable teaching career and you want to get more opportunities, if you want to be respected in your community as a teacher that students can learn from and someone that students can go deeper with, if you want to remain relevant without like chasing trends all the time, then continuing education is going to be part of your job. It's going to be part of the work that you do, and it's going to be part of like bringing integrity to your work. So if everything that we've talked about resonates today, teaching in a way that's sustainable, teaching in a way that has longevity, and then finding the right continuing education program is important to you, then I do have a training coming up that was created with this intention. And this is for those of you listening who are living in the Vancouver area in British Columbia. So Vancouver, the Lower Mainland, the Fraser Valley. This January, I am co-teaching Ayurveda for yoga teachers. And this is a 2-day immersive training that I've taught before with my colleague, Jessica Bugra. It is a Yoga Alliance continuing education accredited weekend immersion, and it is meant to help you deepen your understanding of Ayurveda and give you practical tools through the lens of Hatha yoga that you can actually use and implement in your yoga classes right away. So Jessica is a yoga teacher. She's an Ayurvedic counselor. She's a registered acupuncturist here in the local community. She's an incredible educator. And her and I bring our complementary skill sets together to teach this training. Jessica gives the more theoretical lectures on Ayurveda, the history of Ayurveda, how to actually implement this universal wisdom into your life, into your yoga practice, into the way that you teach. And then I come in on the yoga side of things and I look at Ayurveda specifically through the lens of Hatha yoga and talk more on like the teaching techniques side. So if you decide to join this 2-day training, what you will get is some grounded and embodied learning. So every day of the training starts with a 2-hour morning yoga practice that is rooted in Ayurvedic principles. So you'll get a chance to like get into your body, really contemplate one specific principle or idea for a full 2 hours, and it's going to be really, really inspiring. Afterwards, we move into lectures and discussions that are based on the key principles of Ayurveda and their practical application to Hatha yoga. And this includes conversations about doshas. You'll get to go through an exercise with Jessica where she'll actually help you figure out what your dominant doshas are. And we'll also talk about wisdom that's really universal, like circadian rhythms and seasonal rhythms from the Ayurvedic perspective. We are going to discuss how to integrate the universal wisdom of Ayurveda into your yoga classes while honoring your scope of practice. So there is a really skillful way to bring this wisdom into your classes that doesn't go too far, right? So you're never like diagnosing your students or anything like that. We're just sharing wisdom that's going to be relevant to lots of different types of people. And there's also going to be some meaningful teaching inspiration that you can implement for months and years to follow. So this will include things like how to create your own yoga series or progressive series based on the natural elements. We'll also talk about how to adapt your group yoga classes according to the seasons so that they feel really balanced and really nourishing for your students. We had so much incredible feedback from this training about how impactful it was for the students who took it last time. And all of those teachers were saying that they were able to make changes to the way that they taught like immediately after the training. They felt so inspired. Somebody told us that they taught the best yoga class that they had ever taught after they took this training. So there's just like so much inspiration and so much practical wisdom that you'll walk away with as soon as this is done. This training is eligible for 12 Yoga Alliance continuing education hours. So we are able to help you get some of those credits that you might need for 2026. And then lastly, you will get to spend the weekend in a warm and supportive community of yoga teachers who are going to be learning alongside you. So if you want to connect with other teachers, maybe make a friend, meet some new teachers in your community, this is the kind of place to do it. So it's 100% in person, super hands-on, super high touch. We are right there with you the whole weekend, asking you questions, answering your questions, giving you feedback. It's co-taught by myself and Jessica, and this is happening in Abbotsford, BC on January 17th and 18th, 2026. So this is a Saturday and a Sunday, full days. I will link the registration in the show notes if you're listening, and if you want to sign up, we would love to have you. So if you take anything from today's episode, let it be that depth is what will sustain you as a yoga teacher, not trends. Continuing education is one of the most powerful ways to cultivate depth. And when you prioritize education that truly has longevity and you seek out honest and competent yoga teachers, you are investing in the quality of your teaching and you're investing in the future of your teaching career. I genuinely believe that it is part of our responsibility to pursue continuing education. And it's a real honor to be able to teach teachers and help teachers continue to learn at this point as well. So if you are in the Vancouver area, I would love to have you in training this January. But even if you're listening from somewhere else in the world, we have listeners in almost 20 countries now. I hope that today's conversation encourages you to continue to commit to your growth in 2026. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for caring about what you do. If this episode resonates with you, feel free to share it with another yoga teacher. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you next time.